Hey guys, it's Becky here and welcome to the first writing vlog on this channel. So to give you a little overview of what is actually going on, I am starting to write my dissertation, and that dissertation is going to be a book. The story is based on the life of my grandmother, so that's something I'm very excited about, and I thought it would be quite fun and hopefully interesting to document the whole process of me writing this book. Because I have always been documenting everything, whether it was through diaries or photographs, and then recently I discovered this, so I thought it will be interesting to challenge myself, and on the top of writing the book also to record the whole process of how I'm doing it for myself. But then I thought that maybe I will try and post it here and see what other people think, because I also really do like watching other people's talking about writing and their creative process, so I thought it might be interesting addition to this channel. But I still want to keep with my bookish videos as well, so I need to figure it out when and how much I would be posting this sort of videos, but maybe it will depend how this first video will be received. I don't know yet. But as I said, I still want to keep with the bookish videos, but I thought it will be nice to kind of pepper the channel with something new. So that's the plan for now. And to let you know what is the story about, so basically, as I said, this story is inspired by the life of my grandmother, but I'm not writing a biographical book. It's still going to be a fiction, but with a lot of aspects and a lot of situations that happened to my granny through her life. So it's something that I wrote already last year as a full-length script when I was finishing my studies at university, and I thought I won't continue with my master's, but then I decided I will. So as a last project last year, I wrote a full-length script which was based on her life, and I always knew that I would like to do a book out of the story, but because I was studying filmmaking, obviously I had to write a script, which I did not mind because I love writing scripts. So now I decided that the time came, and because I had a free hand when it comes to choosing what my dissertation project will be, I decided that I will adapt my own script into a novella. So now the deadline for the novella, like the final one, is 2nd of August, and I have the deadline for the first draft. And I have deadline for the first draft 24th of June. So it gives me approximately 5 weeks to write the whole draft, and I'm very excited, but also have a lot of respect for this, because obviously I'm writing about my granny and about people I know, so you still want to be true to the story and tell exactly the truth, what happened and how it happened, because obviously I can speak with my granny so she can tell me, but then sometimes you need to change some things in order to make the story on the paper work. So I'm very excited how this will go. And the story itself, basically, I wrote my script in non-linear structure, so it's kind of a whole overview of my grandmother's life, starting when she was young, then through some situations that happened to her until she was her old age now, which is after 80. So it's very interesting to see how you can place basically someone's whole life on the paper, and I was really inspired by a film about Edith Piaf. I think it's called L'Amour in original. I cannot speak French, but then it was translated to Edith Piaf, and it's in non-linear structure, so if you would watch the film, it's absolutely amazing, and that was something I was going for. So I'm really also excited how I'm going to translate this into a form of prose and into the form of novella. And to give you a little peek into what is the story about, so there's going to be some situation about when my granny was young, so right after the World War II, and how was thing happening in my country right after the war ended, because at this point we were not Slovakia yet, it was different formation, it was Czechoslovakia at the time. So there are going to be some situations from there which I'm hoping that also could reflect the life in my country in those times, so not to focus only on one person's story, but also put the whole context into what was happening in my country in those times. Then there is some parts about her personal life as she was growing up, also the love story, which is absolutely amazing and crazy, and how she wanted to become a nun, but then something changed, and the life developed differently for her, basically, until this point where she is now. So I'm not gonna give you too much out of this, even though I really would like to, because I want to share this story so much, but that's what are these vlogs about and what I'm gonna write about. So I'm hoping that with these vlogs what I could do is to document, as I said, the whole process, and yeah, just to remember it, because I always did love writing. I've been writing since I was, I don't know how old, basically how basically since I learned how to do it, and I was writing short scripts and short stories. Then later on I got to uni, and now I feel like it's time that I will finally put this story on the paper as I always wanted. So if you are interested, you can join me for this journey, and I will try to do this sort of a vlog type of videos for the first time, which I never done, so I'm really excited about how it will go as well. So I hope you will enjoy them, and that's it for my intro, and now I'm gonna get up and start working on this, so I will see you soon with another progress. So I just finished reading my script. It's all done now, and it was a very interesting experience because I haven't touched my script since March last year when I finished it. So that was really interesting to read what I write, but that's the reason why I read it now, because I really wanted to remind myself what and how I've written and what kind of changes I could do for my novella, because excuse me, the thing is that I basically wrote my script in non-linear structure, which means that the scenes are not in a chronological order. So my story begins in 2015, then it jumps to 1946, then it jumps to 1957, and these scenes are constantly changing. And obviously I would like to keep it as for novella as well, because I personally really like when stories, either books or films, are built in this way, because I think it really keeps readers or viewers engaged, and you kind of need to pay attention of what is going on into the story, and then at the end all story will come together as a puzzle. So that's also something I would like to do, but now as I was reading this, I kind of need to come up with an idea how exactly I'm gonna do this for novella or for the book, because obviously even in my script I do have quite a lot of flashbacks and montages, and for book it's something completely different to write these things. You need to do differently. But yeah, so I'm excited, but I need to come up with the way how I will do this, because also another thing I realized is that I haven't been writing prose for quite a long time, because last 4 years I've been writing mostly scripts, and even though I do love writing scripts, probably even more than prose now I'm realizing, because the thing with scripts is that you usually have there 80% approximately of dialogues, and then 20% of it are descriptions, and I think that I really got used to this pattern. So now writing all the descriptions, like long ones, so basically what the characters thinks or what they have, what kind of clothes they have, because as a screenwriter it's not your job to place all these details into the scripts, because the aesthetics and everything is up to directors. Same for the emotions, that's up to the actors to, you know, play them. But then your job there is to be very strict and just get directly to the point, so you only set the scene and then only set the characters, like who is there, maybe what they are wearing, but it's very, very short. So this is something I'm very curious about how I'm gonna do this now, because yeah, I haven't done it for quite a while. But I also did these little marks here, so basically I have 5 weeks left until my first deadline, and I split this script into 5 parts. Obviously I'm not going to be expanding every single scene and just rewriting what I already have, because you need to have different approach for writing a book and writing a script, but to just give myself a little overview of how much I have to do in those 5 weeks. So every week I know I need to tackle different scenes and different part of the story. So I'm very curious about this, because I really want this to be good, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. One thing I'm still also trying to decide is whether to write the story in English or in Slovak, because my supervisors were generous enough that they suggested that I could write this story in Slovak, because obviously Slovakia is where the story is based, and it's based on the life of my grandmother, who was born in Slovakia, and it would make so much sense to write this in Slovak. But in the same time, I would like to write it in my own language. But then I feel that because I was studying in Scotland for, well, this is my 5th year there, write my final project, like my dissertation, in different language rather than English, I think I would feel weird about it. So obviously, even though writing in English will be more challenging for me, because writing a book is something completely else than write regular essays. So I do know it's a challenge, but I'm quite excited about it. But I still need to think about it, because I know that it makes so much more sense to write in Slovak. And also probably more, I can imagine that more of a Slovak audience would be interested in this story rather than, for example, UK audiences. I mean, not that the story is not interesting, but it's history of my country, so I think that the first audience who should or maybe would be able to read this should be Slovak audience. So I'll see. And also, writing in Slovak, it kind of gives me opportunity that my granny can read it as well. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not nervous about it at all. But so I need to see and decide, because also if I would be writing in Slovak, obviously, then it kind of gives me a little bit more pressure, because I would have to translate quite big parts of it, I guess, until my deadline. So even though there would be some pressure taken from me for writing in my native language, which might be easier, I would still have to spend more time on this, because once I would have to finish everything for one deadline, I would also in the same time have to translate quite big parts of the story to the English. And since I am capable of writing English, it also kind of makes sense from this practical point of view to just write it in English directly. So I need to think about it. I also currently started to read some more books. One I'm reading is On Writing by Stephen King, and it's a very interesting book, because I don't usually read very much of these sort of books where you have some guides for writing. If I do, it's mostly for script writing, but not for like writing a prose, but it's time that I start. So I must say I quite like this book so far, but it's very different approach, or it's very different from what I expected it to be, because I thought there will be some from the very beginning, some guidance and some explanation how to write, maybe some exercises, but basically from the very beginning he's talking mostly about his life and how he got to writing. But still, I feel that it's very well written, because even though you feel like you're reading his biography sometimes, still there are these subtle ways how he's giving you advice and some tips and tricks for writing. For example, there was a scene when he mentioned how he was trying to send his stories to the publishers, but obviously everyone was refusing at the beginning. So what he did was that he basically nailed all those papers with rejections to the wall until the point that the nail was falling off, because it couldn't hold so many of rejections papers anymore. So it's also very good to kind of let you know that yes, this is what I've been through as well. So it's very interesting. I am in the middle of it, so once I finish it I will let you know then the full review of the book. Hello, so welcome to another day, another vlog. I did not manage, unfortunately, to keep with my plan of filming every single day, because I got quite ill during the week, so I was not able to film very much. I was still writing, but I didn't feel like switching the camera on very much. So I'm gonna give you a little overview of how I was doing during past couple days. So if you remember, I mentioned in the last time I filmed, I think, that I'm kind of struggling to decide whether to write in Slovak or in English, and I had a meeting with my supervisor and we both agreed that writing in Slovak would be the better decision for many reasons. But then she suggested that I would do some writing exercises to literally pick up some scenes from my script and try write them in both languages and see which one works better for me, on which I feel most comfortable with. So that's what I done, and surprisingly I realized that writing in English seems more natural to me at this point, because I knew that it would be easier for me to write dialogues in English, because Slovak language is beautiful, but sometimes for dialogue it's better to when I use English. At least that's how I feel when I write something. But then when it comes to longer descriptions, obviously excuse me, when it comes to longer descriptions, as I mentioned before, I don't have that much of practice from recent years of writing prose in English other than essays, but then writing books is something completely different. So I was still thinking that I will stick to Slovak. However, when I did those exercises, I realized that writing in English suddenly came more naturally to me. And also another reason for it is that because I was still struggling already when I was writing my script last year to kind of take a step back and decide what I want to keep in the story from how the real things happened, and also what I want to or what I need to change, because obviously I'm not writing a biography, it still should be a fictional book based on the life of my grandmother. But even though when I was writing script, I really have a tendency to try and keep as much as I could from the original story and how everything really happened, because, you know, it's my grandmother and I know those people, so changing something just for the sake of the story didn't feel right. But at the same time, when you are writing a script, you don't have, I don't know, 500 pages to write whatever you want or just to describe everything as details. You really need to be strict with time. And so what I had to do when I was writing my script, I already had to combine, for example, different situations from her life and put it into one scene. So the pace of the story and pace for the whole film, hopefully in the future, would go better and easier and faster. But that was one of the things I really wanted to kind of set right when it comes to writing the book, because I knew I will have more space for writing and for explaining stuff and maybe make them more interesting. But since I'm writing a novella and not a whole novel, because obviously I have 2 months for it, I still need to be really strict and really decide what I'm gonna keep in the story and what I'm gonna leave out. And I realized that writing in another language than is my own, it's really easier for me to distance myself from the story in the amount that is necessary for me to do some changes. So at the end I decided that I will write the story in English, and I wrote already like 13 pages, so I was really pleased with this, because at the beginning I struggled a little bit to kind of get pages, to get words on the paper, but then once I sit down to it, I managed to write, I think it was like 4,000 words one evening, and then I also wrote 3,000 words second day, so it was very nice discovery that I can write this much in one day. So I'm gonna keep writing it today as well. Then another thing we discussed was also what to do with the project next once I submit it for my deadline, because obviously I want to have the first draft of my script done for the 24th of June. So that will be the first draft, and then after that I will still keep rewriting it, but obviously the work on this won't finish once I submit in August. But then I was thinking that maybe where I could take this project next would be to rewrite some bits of it into maybe short stories, which would be written in Slovak, so the original language where the story is based and everything, and they would be more biographical, but they would be only chosen like specific time periods from her life, which could be more interesting, hopefully. So that's also something I've been thinking about recently, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited to do this, but also you still feel that respect for people who you are writing about, because I know some of them and they are still alive, which is great, but it's a little pressure there. But I'm very excited, and also slowly I started to be looking to different places where I could submit this once it's done, you know, such as publishers and everything. And in general, I still want to rewrite my script as well and send it to some competitions, so this is a very big project. But as I said, this is something I really wanted to be doing for a very long time, like since my granny told me some parts of her life, I knew that I really want to capture them on the paper. So now the time came, and I'm just at the beginning of the journey, but so excited. So yes, I will keep you updated, and I will wrap up now because my voice is ending at this point. So thank you for watching this first vlog. I hope you enjoyed it because it was fun for me to doing it, so I will do it, but just need to come up with some structure for when to post this sort of videos, because I still want to do my bookish ones as well, so we'll see. But thank you, I'll see you next time. Bye!